Hello everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and welcome to my channel. Today we are reviewing Married at First Sight Season 16, Episode 21. Here at this channel we do a therapeutic review where we utilize internal family systems. We get a little curious. We lean into our curiosity to learn a little bit about what's happening internally for these couples, why they're showing up the way they are, get a little curious about it, and hopefully learn a little bit about communication, relationships, and potentially maybe even learn a little bit about ourselves. If you are returning, thank you so much. Welcome back, and be sure to like the video and of course subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started. First, we are coming back, right? We're coming back to Shaquille and Kirsten. It is they're the last couple to make a decision if they're going to stay married or not. And if you do recall from last week's review that this is the final episode that I will be reviewing of this season, as Maps is choosing to stretch the season on and on and on. And I have decided for myself that I will stop after decision day. I read in the comments that some of you are joining me as well. So I think, again, because I am wanting to do more content too on internal family systems and give more information about it, I want to make space for that content as well. Now, Kirsten has said yes. She has said yes. She said that I feel like we have put in a lot of work. I see that we have potential to keep going. I don't want to quit on our marriage. 8 weeks, it's a really short time. How can you really make a decision? And so I really want to continue to work through this marriage. I want to continue. And so Shaquille takes a pause and he says, I'm thinking about me, myself as a man and who I am and everything that I put into this relationship. I feel like who I am isn't enough for you. I'm not meeting your expectations, and I'm not going to meet your expectations. And he began to get tearful, which was something that I know Kirsten earlier in the episode or later in the episode was like, how are you saying no and crying? And what I feel those tears are is a part of him that does feel like he isn't meeting her expectations. He wants to be what she wants, and he realizes that that he's not, or this part of him that's speaking, right, feels that he's not. And because of that, he is deciding to end the relationship. Also, I believe that possibly, too, that this part may be coming to some conclusions about that, making and attaching meaning to Kirsten's behavior. Kirsten said that she is a supportive person. However, she realizes that she comes from a space that she does things on her own internally. She processes things on her own, and that's how she dealt with her parents' divorce at a young age, and she developed that part, right, to protect herself from that pain. And so when she's dealing with pain, she soothes and she copes by herself. Well, Shaquille, we know that he has done that. He's done that just like Kirsten did. However, he didn't enjoy that. He wants someone to be with him in life to the point where it's to an extreme, right? And same with Kirsten. So they have very similar wounds. And we talked about this, I think, a few episodes back, right? They both had to endure life alone and in some painful moments, right? Shaquille's accident where he was separated from his mother. His mother was working constantly to provide for him. His father wasn't in his life, and so he was by himself as an only child. Kirsten, she had to soothe and cope with her parents and process her parents' divorce by herself. And so they have similar wounding, right? But they both have opposite ways that they have used to protect themselves. Shaquille likes to be around people all the time. He likes to be connected because that's the way that he used to cope with the isolation he felt as a child. While isolation feels like safety to Kirsten. And so having to pull her out of her isolation bubble and to connect with others is uncomfortable for her, but something that she was trying to lean into for Shaquille. However, for Shaquille, that part of him that needs that isolation now, he felt like it wasn't enough. And also, I believe that maybe even felt like because he he felt like he wasn't enough to Kirsten, that impacted how Kirsten showed up for him. Right? Like he said he felt alone and unsupported. And we did see that Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper were just highly disappointed in Shaquille's decision to end the marriage. Pastor Cal said, this boy not going to get, what does he think he going to? And I said, Pastor Cal, I understand your frustration. And again, this is where they're biased, right? They've picked these two people for each other. Okay. And yes, Kirsten is beautiful. However, Kirsten's not perfect. She's not perfect. Shaquille's not perfect. And I do see where they do both have some growing edges. I do agree though with Kirsten that 8 weeks isn't a long time to really figure out, if you're going to stay in it, because they've had some bumpy roads, but they've had some really good moments too. They have. I do feel though that Shaquille has some inner work to do. And I'm hoping that he can take a look at that, right? Because even in the moment, he talked about not really, I think it was at the after party, he said, he really didn't spend a lot of time making a decision. Like he made a decision in that moment. So it felt like that was a very emotional decision coming from a childlike space and not really taking in all of the relationship. It seemed like that moment where he felt alone, where she didn't go to the Memphis with him or wherever it was, the job trip with him, that person who was disappointed, that part of him that was disappointed, made that decision. She didn't support us. We're done. Instead of taking in all of Kirsten, right, and how she's shown up for him. Right? And he's still upset. He's still upset about how long it took him to meet her dad. I'll say this. I think that when it comes to relationships, it seems like there's definitely a part of Shaquille, a very young part of Shaquille, that has some very unrealistic expectations and wants things to be how he wants someone to show up in a relationship, how he shows up in a relationship. And we know, or if you don't know, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We all have our ways that we show up in a relationship, and that's all directly connected to what we've experienced, our families, our interactions with people. It's all connected. So how someone shows up and provides and gives love to you is directly connected to their experience of love, or even their hurt that they experienced in receiving love or not receiving love. Okay. And so Shaquille has to come to a space, hopefully, where he can understand that not everyone's going to show up in a relationship like he does. It's not going to happen. And I'm seeing that Kirsten was trying. Kirsten was trying. She's still very reserved. She has this very poised part of her. We did see that poised part come a bit undone a little bit, right, as they're unpacking or as they're packing up and putting the keys, on the table and all that. And Kirsten, she puts up a couple fingers as she leaves the apartment. She usually has a very poised presentation. She also showed some emotion when they had dinner together and they're debriefing after decision day. And Shaquille was like, well, maybe we could be friends, or maybe we, who knows, maybe we'll get back together. And Kirsten was like, no, the door's closed. I don't do that. Right. And so you saw this part of her that was very angry. And I don't know, where that anger could have come from. It's multiple places, right? Being embarrassed, being hurt, all of that. Really, because I see her being patient with Shaquille, at least on camera. I don't know what happens off camera. When they weren't videotaping, we saw Kirsten waiting on the couch for him to come in late at night to say hello, good night to him, all that. I do see some effort that she was putting in, but it's not how he wanted it. And so I'm hoping that he can get some clarity around that and even get curious about the part of him that wants love to be a certain way. Wants it to fit in a certain box, because it just doesn't work like that. And there may be a part of him that feels like if it doesn't come in this box, then that's not support. right? If you don't show up for me in this way, that's not support. If you don't do it like this, then you don't love me, right? And so it makes sense that if he's like, I'm not showing up with how you want me to show up, that means I'm not enough. That means you don't want me. And love is not rigid like that. We make space, right? We make space for how someone communicates and gives love freely, and we also can communicate our preferences. Now, the person who we're connecting with, they can, right, lean in, adapt, because they want you to feel loved, right? But it may take some time and patience. And it also seemed like that's an area of growth that Shaquille needs to work on, in the area of patience. He's like, if I don't have it now, then that's it. I do also sense that in those tears, too, that there were frustration because he felt like he did a lot of work to break down those barriers that Kirsten has. And she did have a lot. She's a very particular person, and Shaquille did not fit the bill. And so that even put up more walls. Like, he's younger, he's bald, okay? And then he started to, warm up to Kirsten, and she liked his personality. I do also feel, though, because she was talking with, I think it was her friend about the relationship, and she's like, and she rolled her eyes. I don't know if she realized she did, but when she was talking about how she's like, how I realized I maybe need to be more nurturing, right? So that's a part of her that maybe felt like maybe uncomfortable, or was wondering, if I do have to nurture my husband, is this like a part of marriage? Do I want to nurture, right? And then she was even talking about maybe just not getting married altogether and just having a child. I'll say this. I think whatever road or journey that anyone wants to go on to have a family, to find love, I wish them the best. It is hard, it is challenging, no matter which journey you take. Know that no matter which journey you take you with you. And you take all the parts of you with you. And what's here internally are the things we've experienced and how we protected ourselves. And the beliefs that those parts of us have taken on from like very young ages, those very rigid beliefs, right? They're still here. They're going to be along the journey no matter which journey you take. Whether you choose to get married, whether you choose to have a child and then get married later, or just have a partnership, or are polyamorous, whatever you choose, you're going to bring you and all of you with you. And so with that, I would just encourage all of these cast members on this show, especially this season, because the matches were not the best, right? Most of the marriages did not pass even through friendship, really. They called themselves friends, but they were not friends. I don't think that Clint and Gina were friends. I don't really feel that Eris and Jasmine were friends. I feel like they were cordial and respecting of each other's spaces, because they had to live with each other for 8 weeks. But I feel like they were just kind of bearing through the 8 weeks to get through the process, right? Even Jasmine was talking to Eris saying, you're gonna have to start over. He's like, we're not starting over. I'm just like, it was just 2 months. I feel like that alone said, just like his body language, like I told you last review, that alone says that he was never really fully in it. He wasn't. And so that being said, for them to get curious about, right, who they are, and all of them, because they're going to be with them throughout the journey, or even if they choose to just continue to be single, right? Dom's got her new dog, and she's just sailing along, which is fine. She's still bringing herself along that journey, right? And so getting curious about what's happening internally, so that she can really get to have some clarity about herself, why she shows up in the way she does, and hopefully embrace some compassion towards herself and others. And not just Dom, everyone. I will say, though, some things that were even interesting things that happened throughout this episode. Gina kind of sharing that she was never attracted to Clint in the slightest, that his humor was just so off-putting. I really would have wanted Gina to be a little bit more open. I've talked about this. As she does have this part of her that says one thing but thinks another. And I don't know if she is aware of that, or if she was doing this because she's trying to protect Clint's feelings, if she was doing it because she didn't want to be a villain on TV. All of those things are understandable, and at the same time, whether she says it verbally, she's going to show it in her actions. I mean, we definitely saw it throughout the season, and even now, too, as you know, the rumor mill about McKinley and her and their attraction to each other, and Nicole taking it upon herself to move this potential relationship forward in front of Clint, which I thought was so disrespectful to him. Now, Nicole stated that she felt like Clint was not bothered the slightest by what she said, and they Eris, I think it was Eris, let her know that no, like, he was visibly not okay. And Nicole kind of stood 10 toes down in it. I'll say this. I think that Nicole does have a part of her that's very focused on making relationships work. And I want her to get curious about this part of her. That really focuses a lot on other people's relationships. She, ironically enough, I think she accused Chris of doing that a couple weeks ago when they were preparing to come home for the retreat, before she asked him to put on that dinosaur suit. Like, hey, we talk about everybody else's relationship, let's talk about ours. I feel though there's a part of Kirsten that really gets involved in other people's relationships, and I just want her to get curious about this part of her that feels like she has to influence, or dare say, control a situation to get a certain outcome, right? I want her to get curious about that. You guys let me know. You guys let me know what you think about Shaquille's decision to end the marriage. I really feel that this season was probably one of the worst seasons for matches in MAP's history for me. And I'm hoping that maybe they will go back to the drawing board. I know that's not going to happen, just because I know that, like, I think the season that's going to be coming up, which I think will probably be in July, if, you know, going with MAP's regular calendar, that season's already done, right? And so they're constantly shooting, and so it's hard to make the necessary changes and the necessary transitions and adjustments if you're always constantly moving and not stopping and thinking about and evaluating what can we learn from this? What can we learn from this season? What can we do better? And I'm hoping that somebody's asking that question, to really look at the quality of these matches and truly putting in the work to help these couples to truly work their stuff, even if it's just them learning more about themselves, like really getting a sense. Like, I feel like even some of the cast members this season, they're ending the marriage but not really getting a lot of information about who they are as a person, and so they're easily blaming the other person, and not really understanding, like, their role in the situation, right? And so I hope that they do this. Do I trust them to do this? No. But we shall see next season. I will be, of course, doing more content regarding Eternal Family System, so be on the lookout for that very soon. If you are still watching, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, be cool, be calm, be centered.